Hey bitches, and welcome to the Uncovered podcast. It's me, Dan Rosen, and I'm here with Stephanie, and we're going to be talking today all about polos, Tuesday topics, and just general fuckery on the internet. Are you ready? Stephanie, are you ready? Because we've
I'm
got a lot to
ready.
talk about.
Let's dive in. Welcome, Dan. What an introduction. I think you're going to show Renee up. We might have to do a little replacement
Sorry,
here.
Renee. If you're not here, Renee, to do the intro, someone's going to have to do it.
Yeah, and I reckon that's one of the most epic intros we've had. So, uncovered polos talking about all things. Yeah, I love the way you explain that. Internet fuckery. Like dead set.
Literally, that's what it is.
Literally
I think
is what
we
it
can't take
is.
the internet too serious. We have to remember through all of this conversation that we're talking about the internet, and the internet is just such a, it really is just fuckery, isn't it? Let's be
It
honest. It's
is.
just a complete mess sometimes. It's so messy, it's so fun, it's so, you got to take it with a pinch of salt, haven't you?
You
It's just,
have.
when you get offended by something on the internet, you got to remind yourself, this is just the internet.
It's just
So
a
yeah,
few keyboard warriors and everybody's open to their
right.
opinion. I
Oh,
guess
of
like
course. Everyone's entitled to an opinion. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, and they
you're
and
like, I'm
they
ready.
let you know that, and they let you
Oh
know that.
yes. Oh yes.
Yeah,
And like
they
if you
really
think
do.
about coming back to like I guess humans and who humans are and we were never meant to have this much exposure in life. Like
Oh my God, no way. Like,
no
can you
way.
imagine? I always speak to my nan about things and stuff like this, and she's just like, I mean, she'll go on Facebook every now and then, but I just think, like, how did they even manage? Like, you sort of look now and you think they managed just fine, you know?
Yeah.
You wouldn't ever know if someone hadn't liked or your picture or whatever because you didn't give a shit about that stuff. Do you know what I mean? With
No.
now people just take the internet so seriously and it means so much to them because we live in a society of people that need that quick instant gratification from people, strangers on the internet. And I always try to remind myself so much of that when I get offended by something on the internet. And we all do it, don't we?
We all do.
But yeah,
It's so hard and it's so easy to just like jump on and see where people are at. Like, unless you've been blocked, then it's like you see checking with your
right.
exes and your old friends. And,
Oh, of
but
course. And then you find out you've been blocked, and you're like, oh my God, why have they blocked me?
what
And
have
then
I
you're
done
like, oh my
wrong?
God, what did I do? Like, why have they blocked me? And then you've actually got to sit down and be like, well, actually, do you know what? Why does it matter? I haven't seen them in 6 years. Who gives
Yeah.
a shit why they've blocked me? I don't care.
If they
Do
picked
you know
up
what I
the
mean?
phone
Like,
and called me, will I actually want to have a conversation with this person?
right, exactly. So
Yeah.
the fact that someone's blocked you, I'm going to do this as a daily D soon because I think
Oh, I
people
love it.
forget that actually, if they've blocked you, they've done you a massive favor. They've made their feelings clear, and actually, you should be congratulating them because they've taken the steps that they needed to take to protect their own mental health. And if that's going to help them, good for them. Good for them, I say.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I love that. Like, yeah, because and it's like when you unfollow or you mute people on social media, right? You're doing it for a reason because you don't want to see their stuff. And if you're not
right.
unfollowing and you're just muting, obviously they don't know that. But yeah, if you unfollow, it's because there's something there. And yeah, I really like that. I've never thought about it that way.
Mm.
That's going to be a
But
great
also, it's
daily
that
D.
whole thing of like, why do people need to mute? Why can't you just unfollow? If you don't
Mm,
want to follow someone, I've got friends, right, who I don't follow on Instagram because my Instagram is a poll page, and I actually actively tell them to not follow me because it's all poll stuff, and I'm talking about non-poll friends, by the way.
yeah.
So it's non-poll stuff. So they don't want to be seeing poll crap. Like, why would they want to see that? Boring.
Mm,
Like, they don't want to see
yeah.
poll shit. So I'm just like, listen, babes, don't follow me. I'm like, if people like say, what's your Instagram? Like new friends, whatever I've met that are non-poll. I'm like, oh, don't worry, don't follow me because all I do is post poll. Why would
Yeah.
you want to follow that? Like, if it's not your jam, like, don't feel that you have to follow me.
100%. And you need to like curate, like we can curate our feeds these days to see the things. But like, is it going like talking about that and thinking about that? Is it just this pressure to follow? Yeah. Like, is it a societal thing that we've created that, if you're not following, then like you guys can't be friends? Like,
I think, yeah, I totally agree with that, actually. I think that, people have associated following with friendship. And
Mm.
yeah, I think the difficulty with that is that just because you're not following someone doesn't mean you're not friends with them. It just means that you're not following them on social media. This is their social media page. It's not their life. Do you know what I mean? You're still interested in catching up with them and stuff. And it's just that whole thing of like, as well, sometimes it's nice to meet up with a friend who you don't follow and be like, hey, what have you been up to for the last few months? So
Mm.
you actually have something to talk to. Because if that person, like, so if my friends followed everything that I do on social media, we'd have nothing to talk about because they would have seen it all.
Yeah,
They would have seen it all
100%.
on social media. So in a way, it's kind of nice that we can chat about stuff that we haven't seen of each other on social media. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I used to have a boss, she did the same thing. She's like, every time I rang my friend in England, she's like, I already knew everything she was doing. So it was impacting my friendship. So I made that exact decision to remove herself from social media. And so many people on social media these days, like, you'll have a personal account, but so many pole dancers, and I'm not sure if it's the same in the UK, but so many pole dancers here definitely have like a personal account and then a pole account. So people are
Mm.
niching their social medias anyway, and they're really
See,
diving
I don't
down
have
into,
that. I probably
ah,
should do that. I probably should have a personal. Do you know
well,
what?
then
I
it's
think the
another
reason I
account to
don't is because
manage.
I just, I was just about to say exactly that. I am already so behind on managing my own page that I have. I'm just like, no, I just cannot manage another one. I've got polos, Dan Rosen pole, and then I've got my studio, and then I've
Mm,
got a backup for polos. I don't need more.
just
I
in
can't
case it
deal
gets
with more.
cancelled, it gets like
People,
shadow banned.
no, in case it gets shut down, because I
Yeah.
get lots of obviously with a page like that, you get a lot of haters. It
Mm,
is what it is. I've accepted what it is. I actually find it quite flattering. So people report stuff all the time. It means that stuff gets taken down, and when stuff gets taken down, it will get to a certain point where Instagram will just delete the account. And I've just come to accept that that might happen one day. And if it
mm,
does, it does. If it doesn't, great. I hope it doesn't. I try to keep it as family friendly as possible. But sometimes I like to push the envelope a little bit, and I just like to
just a
see
wee
how
bit.
far we can push it. I used to, one thing that used to always get banned. It's why I stopped that feature. It was so funny, but people were always reporting it again, just like haters who probably don't even follow the page. Um, it was called pole face or porn face. So I used to take like six pictures. I put them
Yeah.
all in a bunch, and it'd be like one of them was a pole face, and you had to guess which one it was. And it was someone
That
like
is,
doing a Superman. They're like this, like ah,
ah.
and you're like, so you have to like try and like take. And literally my internet history was just hilarious because I'd just be like finding like pictures of like close up pictures of people in porn, like trying to like cut their face out so it didn't look like they were naked, so it was like it wasn't so obvious. Oh,
Oh
wow.
my
So
God,
funny.
that is
This is my
hilarious.
life. This is my
Yeah,
life.
well, my next question was going to be like, because I know on TikTok we get community violations regularly just from people in more clothing than normal, and it's like nudity. So, like, I could just imagine what are the types of things that I can understand why that's getting reported, because there will definitely be those. I was going to say there'll
Yeah.
definitely be those people who are a little bit more conservative, but I guess like
I
when
don't think
you're
it's sort
looking
of
at a poll
conservative.
page.
I think it's just people that are offended for the sake of being offended. I don't even think they
Mm,
are offended. I actually think that 99% of the people that do report are just people that don't like you and just don't, they just want to report all your stuff and hope that you get your page deleted. I'm being honest. I think that's what it is.
mm,
I don't think I have ever, I see so many horrible things on the internet, right, that come up on my, like, just, like the feed bit where it just shows you
mm.
stuff that you might like. I see loads of stuff on there. I think, oh, that's horrible. I don't click report and blah. Oh, fuck that. I just keep scrolling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know
Go
what?
to
Actually,
the next thing.
I'm going to read you something that I posted yesterday. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's so true. It says, where is it? Many people don't know this, but it's possible to read something you don't agree with on the internet and simply move on with your life. It's so
100%.
true.
It's so
It's
true.
so true. We're just living in this world now where people, they want to have a voice and they want to be heard and they want people to go on and see their comment and like their comment. They want to be like the, you know, social justice warriors, and, you know, they want accountability. It's like, honey, you don't need accountability. You need a fucking therapist. That's what you need. Like, you need to go and get therapy.
Let's just focus on ourselves, guys, and being better humans in general. And maybe this is not going to be a thing that we have to worry about.
But I say this because I've done it. I've been there. I've done it. I have tried cancelling people online when they've done something that I didn't agree with. And I realized actually that it just came from a place of, like, you know, negativity, and like, I just needed some therapy. I tell you what, therapy, I cannot recommend it enough to people. Like, it's so good. It really makes you look at yourself from a different perspective. And I think, especially, I don't know what it's like in Australia, but I said that really Aussie there. I went Australia.
Australia.
I don't know what it's like in Australia, but yeah, here, especially in the UK. I mean, in the US, everyone has therapists. But in the UK, it's very much a taboo. It's like, oh, you have a therapist. You must be crazy. What's wrong with you? Do you have depression? It's like, well, you know, maybe I do have depression. Maybe I have a little bit of, you know, I mainly suffer with anxiety. But, oh, God, it's amazing. And I think, actually, if it wasn't for therapy, I probably would be doing the same thing. I'd probably still be like, you know, if a company decided I didn't like, I'd be trying to cancel them. Now, don't get me wrong. I do think it's good to speak up on certain topics, and I do think it's good to defend yourself. I think there's ways that you can do it. And back in the day, I used to do it in the most horrible way. Like, if people did something bad, I would literally be screenshotting it. I'd post it on Polos and be like, what do we think about this? We need to... I remember actually once I posted and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. You know, we need to I actually think I'd said we need to cancel them. They're cancelled, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I look back and I just think, oh, it's so cringe. Oh, so
you're like, that was me.
I can't believe I did that.
But what I think is great that you can so openly talk about it. And like you just said, like in the UK, therapy is a taboo. I've been in therapy for quite some years. So like for me, it's definitely not. And the people I surround myself with, it definitely isn't. So I don't know how much of a taboo it is here, but you can openly talk about this and be like, yeah, I used to be that person that I bloody hate seeing now. But I know when we, and I shared this story with you earlier, I had the conversations with a few sex workers in the US, and they were trying to, they were leaving us lots of comments about the way we phrased pole shoes instead of stripper shoes. And I was like, at the time, I was like, I didn't feel that it was appropriate to call them stripper shoes because that's not what we're doing. But that led my studio blacklisted for not being sex worker friendly or LGBTQIA plus friendly. And I'm like, and they said it was from comments in feedback that they've had from people who have visited our studio. And I'm like, hold on, we've just had this thing. Now we've ended up on a blacklist. So I had to talk to them. And I was just like, where is this coming from? Like, talk to me about this so I can understand. Because I'm like, this is
what are you talking about, a blacklist?
Yeah, there's this blacklist on Instagram that's like Pole Studio Blacklist. Apparently it used to exist. It had like 17 followers, so it really wasn't much. But I've also seen how quickly things can go viral on the internet. So I was like, kind of don't want to risk like my studio being slandered in this way when it's all come off the back of a TikTok, in my opinion. So I spoke to them, and, you know, I did take that time to go, what is the studio actually doing here? Like, is there something we could improve on? And we took I took their feedback on board. I have no idea who it was. It was all anonymous. And I had those conversations to try and understand. Exactly.
Of course it was not. You know why it was anonymous? Because it was probably some bitch who fucking doesn't like you. That's why it was anonymous. It was probably some
with their 17 followers. Let's just find a couple of other studios.
I bet you any money it's not someone from America. I bet you any money it's a studio nearby to you. It would not surprise me, honestly, because that is the level of pettiness that I see all the time. Do you know, I know we're going to talk about it in a minute, but do you know how many Tuesday topics I get from studios bitching about other studios?
Oh, really?
Like, hey, Dan, Tuesday topic. A local studio to me is doing this, blah, blah, blah. You know, I think that's really unsafe. I'm just like, honey, you're not going to use my platform to fucking bitch about a local studio if it's about petty shit. Like, I'm not going to deal with pettiness. Like, come on. I
Have a
just find that
conversation.
it's just fucking message them, be like, listen, I think what you're doing is wrong, you know,
Yeah.
or just do the normal thing and just let them do what they want to do. Let them learn the hard way, you know.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Like
Yeah.
people are gonna sometimes you have to let people fail for people to learn, right? Like sometimes
Mm,
that's the only way. And I was literally having this conversation with somebody earlier today. It's like the time you spend talking about other people or worrying about them or looking at them on social
hmm.
media, like coming back to blocking them and stuff, is taking away from the things that you want to do. And like,
Yeah.
the impact you might want to make. And like, it's taking you away, if you're a studio owner, it's taking you away from your community and like being with them and like spending that time there. So, but
100%.
yeah, Tuesday topics. What a great segue. Let's dive in. I kind
Well,
of like,
yeah, I think, well, just as well, like, by the way,
yeah,
just to finish that last little bit, you know,
yes,
I think therapy is so good in the sense that it will help you really look at your inner self, which is why I think I'm
yeah,
able to sort of look at past things and be like, oh, that was so cringy, or just, oh, that's horrible. Um, but I think life is about growth. And I think as well, you need to accept the fact that there are going to be people out there who dislike you and people that you dislike. And the best thing to do is just to unfollow them or block them and just move on with your life, you know, and just to
mm,
remove that energy from your life. And but actually, I spent so much time where I would be following these people like that I really didn't like, but I wanted to keep an eye on what they were doing. And I remember thinking like, why am I doing this? And I just probably, and this was only really been within the last sort of couple of years, 2 years,
mm,
um, because COVID for me really affected my mental health. I would say I went into a mild depression. I was medicated for a small amount of time. Not afraid to admit that either. I think it's really important that we talk about
I'm
shit like that.
still medicated. I've been medicated for
Yeah,
years. Yeah.
good for you. Like, and I think it's
Good for
important to say
you.
that, but good for you for being able to
Yeah.
talk about it, and good for you for
It's,
knowing that you still need to remain medicated. Like, if I
yeah,
felt like I still needed it, I'd still be taking it now. Yeah, 100%. Because it
exactly.
made me feel
And
great. I have to say.
and it's every person, right? Like in this situation and talking about mental health, our experiences in our past have led us to the position that we're in today and how we perceive that. So what you need to do to get yourself in the position where you can feel normal, functional, and that was a huge thing for me, is okay. Like it's okay to do that with support and with GPs and with therapists. And yeah. And like my biggest thing for like I don't know but like my biggest blocker for coming off it is like the feeling, because I've been on it for a while, like the feeling about coming off it. And I'm like, I'm not sure that I want to go through that process to get there just yet, because things are really good right now. So like, let's stay here and explore this area first before we get there. But a little detour,
Well,
mental health.
I have like quite an addictive personality. I think like when I do like something, I can get quite addicted to it. So I was a bit like, I really enjoy the way I feel on this medication, but I'd love to try and be able to use therapy and other methods to make myself feel better, which is why I came off it. But I didn't just go cold turkey. No way. I
Yeah.
wouldn't recommend anyone to do that. I mean, my doctor literally was just like, why don't you try going to like a pill every other day and then
Yeah.
do, you know, half a pill every other day and then do half a pill every 3 days. And I just did that, and I eventually just weaned it off. And then next minute I knew I wasn't taking them anymore. And I was using, you know, sort of like my toxic positivity, I like to call it. And just, I use that, and like, it makes you feel so much better, you know,
Yeah.
when you're super positive and you manifest that sort of positive energy. I feel like it just makes you feel, it not only makes you feel so much better, but I feel like so much goodness comes to you. I know it sounds stupid. I actually was talking about this on social media yesterday, but like, I feel like, you know, not everyone believes in manifestation, and I get it. I didn't either. And I don't also believe in just writing on a whiteboard and saying, I'm going to be a millionaire one day and it will come true. I believe that if you want something enough and you work hard enough for it, and you also manifest in your head that it's going to happen, it will happen. But you still have to work hard.
Because it's like
But
doing the
yeah,
reps, right? Like you're imagining, what life is going to be like, how you're going to get there, and you're thinking about it and thinking about it. So all you're doing is like setting your mindset up for it. But yeah, anyway.
for
So,
sure.
but I
Sorry.
think
Well,
like coming
we were about
back,
to segue into Tuesday
yeah,
topics, weren't we?
but I do want to say like Polo's is a pretty epic platform for pole dancers. Like what
It
you've
is, isn't
created.
it?
Yeah, what you've created. I know. You can take that one.
Something so amazing, haven't I?
But like while it has like we've obviously just talked about all the drama that could be associated with having this type of a following on social media, you've also given people the opportunity to have a voice. And you know, that obviously comes through Tuesday
Do you
topics.
know what?
And
It's like with anything. Tuesday topic can be so positive, but it can also turn so toxic so quickly. I remember there was an Australian girl wrote to me anonymously. I don't know if you remember this one. This one actually was one of the most famous ones to happen because it actually invoked some change.
Is this the payments over COVID?
Yes, that was it. And was it a Sydney studio or something?
Yes.
And you know what? It did really kick off. And I got a lot of, not hate, I wouldn't say I got hate, but I definitely got a lot of upset Sydney studios. But that was never the intention of it. Because the difficulty with it is that we didn't want to call any studios out. That wasn't the intention of it. The intention was that whoever it was would see that and be like, fuck, that's me. I need to change it. But in the process, it obviously meant that people were tagging people and going, Sydney Pole, this better not be you. Or Michelle, is this Michelle Shimmy and Maddie Sparkle? I'm like, guys, no, we're not here to accuse people. Like, because they then felt like they had to go on and be like, hey, everyone, I just need to comment and let you know it's not us. So please don't tag us. And then I was a bit like, oh shit, I really feel bad that that's happened. However, at the end, when they messaged me and said, hey, just to let you know this worked, and they've messaged all the instructors now and said they're going to pay them. Yeah. I was like, well, do you know what? It was worth it for me, you know?
Yeah.
And some do go south a little bit. They go south. You think you're helping, and then actually it goes really messy and horrible. It happens. It's part of the job. It's one of those things I've just learned over the years, I think. I'm now very, very careful on what I share. I don't know. I've had a few, I'm trying to think of some examples, but I've had a few where it's just caused me way more drama than it's been worth. Yeah, it's one of those things, but I feel like they do create a space where people can talk, because in our industry, if you were to say something now and be like, hey, I really don't like this, a competition did this or whatever, do you agree with it? If you were to post that and be like, hey, Pole Theatre did this and I don't like it, it wouldn't do anything. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't do anything. And also it would just mean that Pole Theatre would probably never let you enter again because of the fact that you'd done that, or they'd just never let you through. Do you know what I mean? Like it would, because we're in such a small industry, such a bitchy industry, let's be honest, let's be real now, that it would affect you in some way. So many people don't speak up because they're afraid of how it'll affect their standing in the industry. Whereas this platform allows people to say stuff anonymously and to get other people's feedback on it. And then in turn, it means that other people see it. So if it's someone bitching about studio etiquette or something and a studio owner sees it, they might see it and be like, oh, actually, a lot of people don't like that. I do that at my studio, so I'm going to change it. So it does offer an opportunity for growth.
Yeah, and I know as a studio owner, like every time a Tuesday topic comes up, I do jump on and read it and like see what it is and be like, oh, is this something that interests me? And then I do read through the comments, especially if it's like you said about studio etiquette. I think you've had one like about having kids in class and those types of things. And those discussions actually get brought up in our team meetings or our discussions in the studio to be like, do you remember that time that on Polos, the Tuesday topic was bringing kids to class, like, and how people responded to that. And I think it's given us the opportunity to see different people's perspective and different people's perspective that aren't just within our community or within our city. Because I think that's another thing, like you said, like there'll probably be things that I don't want to put out there because it is such a small community and you don't want to get hated on or you don't want to get banned or you don't like those things make that really hard. So I think it's definitely invoked some change and some good discussion points too.
I think it's important to discuss it because people are too afraid to discuss it within their own platforms because they don't want to get cancelled. And do you know what? I don't really care about being cancelled because they're not my topics. So it's like when people get angry at me, I'm like, honey, this isn't I've not said this. This is not me. I'm posting it on behalf of someone else. And to be honest, I think people know by now that Polos is a page that is not afraid to be cancelled. Cancel us if you want, go for it. It doesn't bother me at all. So yeah, it's just one of those things where I just think like, you know, we're just saying what people are thinking. So if if you're going to be offended by that, be offended by it, you know, but, and people have tried to cancel the page in the past. People have tried to cancel me in the past, and here I am.
But also as
like
humans,
a virus that won't go away.
It's just like cancer.
I'm just like COVID. I just won't fucking disappear.
I know every time we get rid of you, it's just like, oh, there's another variation.
I know. I'm just like, I'll just pop up in another Instagram page somewhere else. I'm like another variant. Exactly.
It's just kind of like, you'll just come off, like you'll mutate. But I think, what was I going to say? I think though, one of the things, and like I reflected on hugely when we had that situation on TikTok, is like, as humans, are we not allowed to make mistakes anymore? Like, we're humans, we're not robots, we're not programmed. So if we do fuck up and if we do something that is wrong, give us the opportunity to change, I think.
Yeah.
Because we're already struggling with a world of perfection because of social media. And then you put this cancel culture on top. It's like, I can't fuck up. So sometimes it's like, why do I even start? Or what's the point of even sharing things on social media that aren't perfection? Because I'm just going to open myself up to being hated on. And if I make a mistake, it's actually going to have a huge backlash for me.
I think with social media, we've just created a culture where people just really love to knock people when they're down. So it might not even be that serious. It might not even be that serious an issue. I mean, look at the Will Smith thing is a different example because obviously he physically hit someone. It's kind of different. But no one's ever going to agree. You've got the Will Smith team and then you've got the Chris Rock team, haven't you? There are people that agree that actually he was in the right, and then there's people that think that Will was in the right. And he hit someone, you know, but there are people that still think that that was justified. And it's just, you know, you're always going to get people that disagree on things. And I think it's just a point of realizing that not everyone on social media is going to like what you have to say. And actually, that's okay. And they're entitled to be like that. But what I would say is that I just wish those people would, if they're going to say something, say it. But you don't have to go so personal. Sometimes people will get really personal, or they'll just go way too hard. Like if I didn't like something, I would maybe comment like, hey, not sure I really agree with that. Here's why. I just, you know, here's my perspective, just in case you're interested. I like when people do that approach, but many times I get people just go fucking mad. They'll like start posting and be like, oh, we need to cancel Polos. Polos is problematic. What's other things they've said? Polos. Just, I'm so immune to it now. I actually, it sounds terrible, but I feel like I've gotten to a point where I find it funny. It's really bad. I probably shouldn't find it funny. But it's just like, I just think people are crazy. I'm just like, are you mad? Like, what makes you think that your input means absolutely anything to me? It means nothing to me. Like, don't get me wrong, like, if you don't like it, no worries, you know, that's fine. But your input is not going to change the way I feel about a subject, because I'm my own person and I can feel the way I want to feel about it. The same way they're entitled to feel offended. I remember actually someone said to me once, why are you deleting people's comments? Why are you trying to silence people's voices? I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, you can go and say whatever you want on your page. I'm not silencing you. I don't have the power to silence you. You're not being silenced. What I'm doing is telling you that you're not going to do it in my space. Yeah. It's like someone protesting, right? They can protest outside my house. They can protest on the street. They can protest at their house. But they cannot walk through my doors and protest because I'm not going to let them in.
It's a boundary.
It's a boundary. I'm creating a boundary. But people think of that as like being like silencing people's voices. And the reason I hate that is because it's not silencing people. They're still entitled to go and do what they want. But I tell you why it upsets people. It upsets people because They don't want to go and post to their, 500 followers. They want to post to your 150,000 followers, and they want 150,000 people to see it because they want to be recognized. And it's like, see me, recognize me. I am valid. My opinion matters. Notice me. I'll always remember RuPaul describing it like that and thinking, fuck, that is exactly what it's like. It's that please notice me culture. And I'm like, nah.
But yet they're not willing to go and post it on their own thing and put themselves out there and be vulnerable on their own space and their own communities.
Oh, no, they do. Oh, no, most of them do. They tag me. Yeah. Oh, they tag me and like they're expecting me to what? They want me to share it? Is that why you're tagging me?
Like, do you
they're
want
tagging
more?
me because they want me to see it. And you know what, most of the time I don't see it. Do you know how many times we've gone through the Instagram messages and we just have been weeks behind or whatever? And I've gone back and I've seen a message and they're just like, it was like a message of why they were upset about something. And then I'm like, oh, what did I post? I'm like, what did I say? I can't remember. And I'm like, oh, I just delete it.
Yeah.
The thing is,
and they would have forgotten about it by now.
Seriously.
Yeah, you can't. And they, it's so easy to forget that these things happen, right? Like, you just move on because there's so many other things happening. Like, the creator economy is just absolutely smashing you and smashing you and smashing you with new content all the time. So new trends are coming up. How quickly do things come in and out of trends? Like, that is a perfect example.
And one thing I would say to people, as you probably have noticed when you got cancelled for the whole heel thing, like, people forget so quickly. People forget so quick. And you know what? Truly, no one actually cares. I think people pretend to care to try and show face, but I don't think they genuinely actually care unless it's about something really, really bad. But people forget. And you know what? The perfect example of that, and people are going to hate for me to say this, but it's so fucking true. Do you remember weeks ago when everyone was like, oh, Ukraine, this, we need to help Ukraine. And now, where are you now, bitch? Where are you now? Where are you helping Ukraine now? It's because you've forgotten about it, because it's not the latest, trendiest thing. No one cares. So many people have been cancelled on the internet, like, especially in the pole industry, and people just forget about it. And like, it's funny. Do you know what actually is even more funny is how many people don't even see it. They don't even see it because obviously Instagram's terrible and doesn't show everyone our content. So many people will be like, someone came up to me a little while ago, because I got accused of scamming people. Oh, that's a long story.
I do remember seeing this.
That?
Yeah.
Someone said, oh, Dan, because I'd associated myself with someone who apparently had scammed people.
Yes.
And I got called a scammer. And someone came up to me and was like, oh, how's my favorite scammer? And someone was like, why are you calling him a scammer? And they were like, did you not see that on Polos? She was like, no. And then another girl next to her was like, well, I didn't see that either. What happened? So there was only one girl out of this probably a group of like 6 people who had seen it. She was the only one who saw it. It's just like, no one cares.
Yeah. And it's so easy to not, like, today, I've barely been on social media. So I have no idea what's going on in the social media world. Like, so it's so easy to miss a couple of days where action could be happening and then be like, jump back on and just be like, okay, cool. Like, what's going on? Yeah. But
what we got to remind ourselves every time is that, it's internet drama. Internet drama is disposable. It'll be, I could do something today and it'll be forgotten about tomorrow. No one will care, It's just one of those things, and you're going to lose followers, you're going to gain followers. You just have to stick true to what you do, because if you try to cater to the people that hate what you do, you'll never grow your page, because your mission is to find the people who are just like you. You're trying to find your tribe. So when you start catering to the people that keep unfollowing you, you're actually just creating more unlikable content. You're not creating more for the people who actually follow you, which means that people who did like you for what you used to do are just going to follow you as well. So then you'll lose even more followers. It's just a vicious cycle. I just think on the internet, you got to do what you do. Try to be respectful where you can. This isn't my way of saying, no, do what you want, offend who you want.
Yeah.
I think we've still got to try and be respectful, and I really try to be, and I'm constantly learning. And I think it's important that we do learn. And I try to make my learning processes a learning process for all of us on polos. And an example of that was a little while ago, I had misgendered someone. I'd accidentally given the wrong gender to someone, and people were like, oh, their pronouns are they, them, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, what does that mean? I don't know what that even means. This was a long time before it was really, a known thing by lots of people. And so I was like, right, here, do you know what? We're going to all learn together. We're going to all learn about this together, because so many people were like, what does that even mean? So I was like, do you know what? I've got a friend who had reached out to me. They are going to come on and talk to us about this. And they came on and talked to us, and I created some posts about it to educate people. And lots of people really, were really grateful for it. I think, you know what? A mistake was made, so I'm going to learn from it. And while I'm learning from it, why don't we all learn from it? So it's important.
Especially when you have an audience, and it, like you said, it was a new thing at the time. And it was like a lot of people still now don't fully understand how to approach those subjects. Like
100%.
It's that this is going to be a learning curve, and we are all in this learning, and being able to, they didn't have to go anywhere to learn that. You were there, and they're already following you for whatever reasons they're following you. So it was an opportunity for them to continue to learn, and they built trust with you, whether or not it's trust of they like you or not, but they built trust. So the people who are following your page are following your page for a reason, because you deliver particular content of which they want to see. So, they're able to build that trust with you and be like, yeah, look, I'm happy to come on this journey, sort of thing. So,
I think this is the thing, we have to give people the benefit of the doubt if it's their first offense kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, if someone's made a mistake, why are we not giving them the benefit of the doubt? Do you know what I mean? Why are we not being like, do you know what? They've made a bit of a mistake here. And even if it's something quite offensive, do you know what I mean? I don't know whether you remember, I won't say the name, just because, again, I don't want to upset anyone or, call anyone out, because I hate that. But a famous pole dancer just recently, it was about a month or so ago, posted a meme that was quite transphobic. And
I see, I missed this.
Yeah, and basically, and it's gone now, I think. And but at the time, the pole dancer really stood by it, and lots of people really came for her. And it was really, some of the comments were, they were really harsh. And don't get me wrong, I think the way I looked at it was like, this is wrong, and actually it's really bad, and it's really offensive, but I've never seen you post stuff like that before. So maybe you just need to educate yourself. So I did. I just messaged them and said, hey, if I was you, I'd delete it, because, it just sounds like you need to understand why that was offensive. And, and this is kind of the approach that I try to take to it when I offend people. I'm just like, okay, did I offend them because I genuinely made a mistake? Or, I tried to get other people's perspectives on it as well, if I'm unsure, but it's that whole thing of someone's just posted something flippantly. They didn't even think about it. And all of a sudden they're being cancelled, and people are unfollowing them and saying to them, oh, I'm never going to support you again, and whatever, And it's happened to a few famous pole dancers I've seen of people have tried to cancel them for whatever reason. And it's sad, because especially if they've never done something like that before, I feel like, yes, of course, something needs to be said. And yes, accountability is important. But we need to know the difference between accountability and bullying. I think people, especially in the pole world, have got that line super blurred, myself included, because back in the day, I would 100% say that some of the times that I'd call people out was more on the verge of bullying. And it's about knowing the difference, about asking for accountability and asking for, something to be said. And then there's bullying people. And don't get me wrong, even now, when I ask for accountability of people, or when a Tuesday topic is posted, there was a Tuesday topic posted a while back about a competition in the UK, and they were like, oh, this is bullying. I'm like, no, it's not bullying. I'm like, of course it's not bullying. No one's saying anything personally against you or something nasty. They're just saying they don't like the processes of what your competition is doing. That's not bullying. They're just asking for change.
Yes.
And rather than making the change, you're going to say we're bullying you. No, honey, not on my watch.
It doesn't quite work like that. And that doesn't help your situation either. But I find with the canceling thing, especially like you say, if it's a one-off thing that they've done and maybe they just need the education, if you cancel them, you're potentially taking away their livelihood as well. Like it could be, especially if they're well-known pole dancers, if they're making their money in pole and you cancel them, it's if they've done something wrong, like really like not taking away from stuff that is super offensive, but like you could be damaging their income. And yes, they need to be aware of this if this is how they're presenting themselves publicly. But yeah, like that's what canceling can do to people. And if it's just a one-off, like you said, if it's just they've posted something and they just need to be educated, like let's help them on that journey.
And that's the issue, I think, is that, I think the response needs to be according to how they respond to what they've done.
Yes.
It's like, Will Smith, I feel a little bit bad in a weird way. I know that what he did was wrong and that physical violence is never the answer. But when I heard that all these shows were like cancelling, like they were basically unbooking him, like loads of movies have dropped him and all of this sort of stuff, I just thought, it's really sad to think that even after he's apologized, and he knows he's made a mistake, let's be honest. I mean, he knew as soon as he'd done it, because in his speech he mentioned it, and you could tell he was like, fuck, I've made a mistake here. But it makes me sad his income is being affected by that. Obviously, yeah, sure, you could be like, well, he's a millionaire anyway, as if he needs the money. But it's not about that. It's about the fact that his life has potentially been ruined by one mistake. And it does make me a little bit sad for him. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't know the whole situation. I don't know if he's done anything else similar before. I'm not a big Will Smith follower or anything, but, and I've not seen whether he's been problematic before. But yeah, it makes me sad when it affects people's income.
And I think we don't know what anybody's going through. And what you see on social media is only a snippet, right? Like, so we don't understand, like, for all we know, there's been major issues between Chris Rock and Will Smith in the past. And like, this was like the fun. We just don't know those things.
We don't know the whole story. This is the thing. And this is the issue as well. When we were talking earlier about, when I got called a scammer, that whole drama, lots of people, the pole dancer who started that whole smear campaign against that other company. Yeah. So I kind of just got associated because I'd shared something from that company. So I just got dragged into it. I was like, why am I in this drama?
Yeah. How did I end up here?
The reason why that whole situation really winds me up is because no one actually knows the truth about what happened between them two, and it makes me annoyed that people will go out of their way to support one or the other when they just don't know. And, I've said to both parties, to be honest, I don't know if I believe either of you. I think there's gaps in both of your stories, but I don't want any involvement in it. And I'm not going to treat either of you differently because I believe one over the other. I have my guesses on who is right and who is wrong, but I don't know enough about it. So why would I insert myself into that situation when it has nothing to do with me? Do you know what I mean? I think that's the issue I have with the internet, is that people do put their nose in where it's really not belonging. But I think that's just part of the internet culture. We all do it. I've done it. Yeah. You've probably done it. Yeah. We all want to give our
You all have something to say. Yeah.
Of course.
And if it's not publicly, it's definitely, it's definitely in a conversation with somebody else, like, oh my God, did you see what that person posted? But so does this mean like you're probably like the pole, like holder of secrets? Like, do you get sent just a lot of interesting stuff through the Tuesday topics?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them, some of them I don't even share because they're just too much. And I just think, that's going to cause so much drama. Like the one I posted today is about...
the certificates?
It was just about like, what do you think about poll certifications? And do you think they're worthwhile? And I asked the question, I was like, I mean, the thing that interests me is like, do you think you can qualify as a poll teacher just over 2 days? It's things like that. But when they first sent it to me, they had a name of a company on there. And I was like, listen, I'm not going to share that because I don't want that company to feel like they're being targeted. Because actually, they're just doing what all of the other companies do. They're all doing the same thing. So let's take their name off of it and then we'll share it. But I get some and I'm just like, whoa. I'm like, that's like, it's juicy. And I think, wow, that's a really good one. But I also think it's not worth it because it will
Yeah.
just kick off. And it's just not worth it sometimes. And sometimes, even though I'm, even though I'd love to share it because I think it'll really spark some debate, I also think it will spark a lot of arguments.
Yeah.
Um, I want to tell you one thing that really cracks me up about Tuesday topic. When
Yeah.
people say, um, "Oh, Dan just posts Tuesday topics for the drama. He just does it for the likes and the comments." And no, don't give me a shot. No, don't be
Yeah.
shocked because they're 100% right. Like, and let me explain myself
Okay.
because
Well, it's good engagement, right? The more engagement on the
correct,
post, then
exactly.
the
So
higher it sits.
when people say it to me, they're like, "Oh, you just do it for the comments and likes." I'm like, yeah, because that's what social media is for. But
Yeah.
but
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
not just a case of I'd rather people comment with useful comments rather than arguing with each other, of course,
Yeah.
which is what I prefer. But people forget that Polos is a business, so Polo sells
Yeah.
merchandise. If I
Mhm.
post a topic and it gets loads of comments, it means lots of people are going to come to my page. If lots of those people come to my page, they might look at other posts. And one of those other posts might be an advert. And that advert is going to take them to my website, which means they might buy a product. And if they buy a product, I get a sale.
So
That's how it works.
do you strategically place your ads then around like stuff you know is going to kick off?
I probably should. I don't know.
I was like,
I would say that I strategically place my ads on stories. If I
yeah,
think it's going to be a popular story and that lots of people are going to respond to it, I will put some ads. I
yeah,
do that, but yeah, no, I actually don't. That's actually a great idea. I probably should do
yeah. It's
that.
gonna be like your
But
next post should be like something about your merch or your pole
yeah, yeah,
destroyers or something.
and then
Yeah,
do a Tuesday topic.
yep, yep. And just
But
like, yeah,
yeah,
place it. So what, how do topics make the cut? Like
so
how,
topics make the cut based off of whether I feel that A, it's something we've never talked about before.
mhm.
B, whether it's non-offensive. If it's going to offend people, I just won't even bother.
Yeah,
Um, and I'll tell you an instance again. I learned from that. I think this was one of my first ones that I learned from. It was a black girl wrote to me and said that she was like, "Oh, where are like all my black polars at?" That she what did she said something like "Where are all my black polars at? Like I don't have any, like I can't find any, famous black pole dancers that I can follow. I'm new to pole, can you give me some recommendations?" So I posted and said, tags, some of your favorite black pole dancers because there are loads. I mean, I could think of probably 20 just off the top of my head.
mm,
Um, and rather than people doing that, it actually caused offense. And I just didn't even think of it at the time. And actually, of course, you know, lots of people were like, "Well, we've been here the whole time. It's just, lots of people don't want to recognize our work and stuff." And I was like, "Oh, fuck, I didn't even think about how this could be
yeah,
offensive." So I just
yeah,
took it down. It's one of those things that, you know, I thought it was doing some good, but actually it did some bad. So I
yeah,
just take it down. I again learn from my mistakes. That's what I mean when I say they can go one way or another. So, but
yeah,
at the time, I thought when I was picking, I was like, "Oh, that's a great one," because I'd love to expose more black dancers to more followers and really get their names out there. That's what I thought I was doing, but actually it was doing the opposite. And we learn, we move
yeah.
forward, and I wouldn't ever share something like that again. But if I feel like they're a bit meh, I know that sounds really bad, but sometimes people will be like, "Hey, I don't know, like, oh, I get it's something that has been discussed so many times in the industry, like, hey, what do you think about, people that have like slippy hands, should they be allowed to wear gloves or whatever?" I'm just like, oh, come on, that's a bit of a boring one. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's not interesting or whatever.
No.
If it's something that's gonna, really spark some debate.
Yeah.
I like debate. I don't like arguments. I think
Yep.
I don't like it when people start getting personal with each other. They're the comments
Yep.
that get deleted quite quickly.
Yep.
But yeah, I like stuff that's going to spark a debate. Something that actually is a bit of a taboo subject that people don't want to talk about. I love those too.
So
Because,
what would be like a taboo subject?
well, like a subject that people wouldn't normally want to post about, like that girl
Mm.
posting about the qualifications. She's
Yeah.
not going to post and say, let's say, for example, I don't know, Dan Rosen training. she's not going to post about Dan Rosen training because it will look like she's trying to slander Dan Rosen training. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
rather than doing that, she can send the topic into polos and it can be discussed on there, and then people can be quite open about how they feel about it. And it becomes a nondescript discussion about the industry as a whole rather than about one company. So I like the way it allows people to discuss subjects that if they post about on their social media, it would look like a targeted attack. So I like taboo subjects like that. When I say taboo, I mean like that, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, please tell me more about this taboo stuff. But I think it was last week you did the one, the one about, I've been polling and I'm really excited and I love it and I want to become a studio owner. But I'm worried I'm not skilled enough. And I thought that, and I really quite enjoyed reading that one, obviously being a studio owner myself, and how do people perceive successful studio owners? Like, what is deemed as success? And obviously, given my background in business and understanding that, I was like, I'm really intrigued to know how people deem people who are successful in running studios. Because I used to, as part of my previous job, I used to audit small businesses for a bank. And I've seen some really dumb people run some really successful businesses and some really intelligent, maybe dumb isn't the right word, but I've seen some really business savvy people run really successful businesses, and really smart, savvy business people run really bad businesses. So there's a lot that comes into running a business, right? So I thought that was really interesting as well. But
it's true. Like I would describe myself as one of the dumb ones. Like, I'm not on paper. Oh my God, I'm so crap when it comes to education and stuff. When it comes to running a business, I'm good at it. I know how to run a business, but I wouldn't say I'm great. If you put me in front of like a maths, English and science test and got me to go, I wouldn't have a fucking clue. I wouldn't know. I'd be so terrible. I didn't do great at school. I wasn't very into education or higher education. So I've always just been interested in my own businesses. So
I think, because you're interested, right? You go and look and you go learn and you go find out how, and you learn from your own mistakes. So
because it's subject I like,
Yeah, exactly. So you want to know more about it and you want to be better at it. So you continue to learn. So I found that really interesting, and I found people's takes on it really interesting, because I feel that sometimes, and I don't know if we talked about this on air or off air, but pole studios are still businesses. So you still need to be able to run these.
I find that subject really funny as well, because it has so many facets to it. I agree that you can run a studio and you don't even have to. There are some people who run studios who don't even do pole.
Yeah.
But I think what it does do, I'm really intrigued to see if you agree with this. I find if the studio owner doesn't do pole at all, people then start to think, well, why should we be doing all this work and then they make all the money? And trust me when I tell you that happens so much. It happens so much here. People thinking they can go and do it better, so they go and open their own studio, and then it ends up closing after however long because they don't have the business experience. I think a lot of people get that feeling that they are doing all the work when actually they don't really see what the business owner is having to do behind the scenes with the advertising, with making marketing materials, dealing with all the emails, dealing with the online booking system, paying all the invoices, everything else, the insurances, all that boring shit that really no one wants to do anyway.
Nope.
But I think that's the only stumbling block sometimes with being a non-pole dancer who runs a business, or maybe you did a bit of pole but you don't do much. If people feel like, and I say this because I've had topics like this before, and I've posted topics like this before where they're like, I feel like the studio owner doesn't really do anything. Like, we do all the work, we take all the bookings and stuff. And I'm like, sometimes I'm a bit like, really? And then sometimes a bit like, I'm not sure. Do you know what I mean? Because with my instructors, for example, they don't take all the bookings and stuff. I do all of that. All they do is they turn up and they teach, and then they go home. I get all the students in. They don't have to advertise, nothing like that. I do all of that. They literally just turn up, teach, and go home. So I think
I agree with you though, 100%.
I think a lot of people think, oh yeah, I want to open a studio too. They're making so much money, I want to do the same.
Yeah, they do the simple maths of X amount of members, X amount of dollars.
They're like, oh wow, well this class has 12 people in it. That's like,
Yeah.
listen, £120. Like,
Mm.
I want to make £120, but they haven't taken all the costs of that £120. So
Yeah.
yeah, I totally agree. I think that's the only thing I would say is that yes, of course you can run a studio, and you don't have to have, you don't have to be an advanced pole dancer to run a business. You don't have to
No.
be a poler to run a successful studio.
Yeah.
But I would say it definitely helps to be involved with the teaching as well, so that then no one can really turn around and be like, well, you're just sat at a computer making all this money while we're doing all the physical work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think it's, I just lost my train of thought. It's gone.
It's gone.
It's blank.
Bye.
Bye. It's like done. Yeah, I can't remember what I was going to say, but all right, moving on. moving on. So Steph can find it.
That was a good way to segue.
Yeah, give me like 2 seconds and I'll be like, that was it. That was it. Yeah, now I'm still trying to find it. It's not there.
It's completely gone. What were we talking about? We were just talking about business. Like owning a studio, not polling.
I think it comes down to like studio owners is like being able to communicate. You have to be a people person. Like you need to be able to talk to people, whether it's your instructors, whether it's your community, and being personable is also a very important trait, and know how to, everything with business is student experience, right? Well, customer experience. Right. Like how do you create those experiences for people? Because if you do that really well, your business is probably going to do really well.
Your business is going to do great. Yeah, exactly.
How do they feel when they walk through your doors? Like, yeah, that's a huge thing. But coming back to Tuesday topics, so what would you say your craziest one was the Sydney situation?
I'd say it was one of the ones that I felt quite heavily invested in. Whenever I think of drama ones, I think it was a lot of drama and a lot of stress, but actually I'm so glad that it turned out to be such a positive result. But no, I've that UK competition one that caused a lot of drama as well. Some of them just end up turning into drama.
What was the UK competition one again? Was that something to do with the judges?
Yeah, it was something to do with the judge. Basically, they changed the processes of the competition. They changed the judging. They wanted to make the judging panel more diverse, but it meant that by having a more diverse panel that they had less experience, and I think people just weren't very happy with that. It was just loads of little things.
Wow.
And the thing is, it's one of those things as well. I'm glad it was shared because it did open a lot of topics, but the thing is that most of the time, sometimes if it's trying to make change, it can sometimes either make them change or it'll make them dig their heels in and be like, no, we're going to keep it this way. And they have, but it's sad because in doing that, they're basically just going to make their business disappear because it just means that people won't support it as much. And it's sad. But at the same time, I think that rather than trying to cancel people because they've changed something that you don't like, it's better just to leave it because it will just cancel itself. That sounds terrible, but the competition probably won't last for very long because of the fact that it's been given feedback and they don't want to listen to it. Yeah. So sometimes, as much as it's really tempting to be like, we don't like this and we want change, just leave it and don't support it. Just don't support it and it will disappear on its own. And then it's up to them if they want to make the change before it does disappear. And if they don't, then that's on them, isn't it? I just think leave it. And if they survive, good for them. Maybe they've made some changes. And if they don't, then, that's okay. You didn't want to support it anyway. It's a difficult one, isn't it? But people want to have their say. So
yeah. Well, exactly. People want to have their say. And I think we always look at a situation, right? And we go, I think I can do, not always, but we do at times look at it and I could do it better if I did this, and this. But coming back to the Will Smith thing, you don't know everything that happens. So, but I think feedback for a business, from a business standpoint, is really important. And I think you're right. If people can't take the feedback on board or they can't transition or move, and I guess, COVID was a huge thing for that. If you couldn't transition your business in that time to online, or if you didn't have, if you hadn't been working with your community and those types of things, it does wean out the people who can't innovate and change and move with the times from a business 100%. Standpoint anyway. But yeah, 100%. Do you think your Tuesday topics have done a good thing Like, how do you think it's impacted the overall community?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really look at it that deep. Do you know what I mean? I don't think Tuesday topics are that deep. I don't think
Yeah.
it's to a point where
Okay,
the
let's go to your
community would
page
be.
then. Like, how do you
But
think polos?
well, yeah, I mean, in general, I think laughter is important. I
Yeah.
think, if we don't, if we, I think we were at a stage where when I first started making the memes and first started making the Susan videos and stuff, I think we were at a stage where we really there was no platform for us to laugh at the stupid things that we do as pole dancers. And there was no real dedicated platform to that. And I wanted to make one. But also, I wanted to make one purely because I just was posting it all on my Dan Rosen pole page. And I just didn't want it all crowded on there. But I think the
Yep.
Tuesday topics as well are just a supplement of that. They're great for engagement
Yeah.
in terms of business, but they're also
Yep.
a great way for people to be able to talk openly, to say something anonymously, to be able to get feedback
Mm.
on something anonymously without, so I've got one that someone sent. She's like, I don't know whether I should be feeling this way about this, but, am I being a dick or is this fine? And it's, if they posted that on their page, people would be like, oh my God, what a dick, whereas
Yeah.
because it's been posted on polos anonymously, no one will even know it was her. So it's okay.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I do think it's done some good. I like to think it has.
Mm.
I would be lying if I said if I said it hadn't done any bad, because I assume it probably has. Like everything on the internet, I'm sure there's been some people who have been offended by it or whatever, but
Yep.
I'm not responsible for the way you feel about content that's on the internet. If you're going to go on the internet, you have to accept the fact that you are going to bump into some stuff like that. And it's not my
Yeah.
responsibility to make you feel good or make you feel bad. The only person who can control how you feel about something is you.
Mm-hmm.
If you see something you don't like,
100%.
it's up to you whether you get offended by it.
Mm.
It really
I
is.
agree.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to make you be offended by it, but if you want to be offended by it, you can.
Yeah.
And that's the way I always try to look at everything on the internet. If I'm like, well, I don't really like that, I could choose to literally sit on that page for ages, look at all their other content, be offended by it. But I just think, why would I
But
waste
also
my
by
positive
doing that,
energy?
you're giving engagement because it's tracking how much time you're spending on that page and it's only benefiting them anyway.
I
And
don't. Do you know what's so funny? This sounds really terrible. I probably shouldn't brag about this, but the few times that I have been cancelled or whatever, or people have tried to come for me and they're all sharing it, that's when I get my most followers. And I know it sounds absolutely crazy, but it's because and I'll tell you why though. Is when I get my most followers because people want to come onto the page and see what's going on. They want to see the drama. And I don't
Mhm.
like when people do that. So I go on to private, I turn my profile into private, and if they want the drama that badly, they have to follow me. And that's why I get my most followers from that.
I love it.
I'm
Wow.
like, honey,
I
listen,
feel like you need to
you
give
come
me a
for the
social
drama, you
media
ain't getting it for
course.
free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, that's
I'm like, if you
great.
think you're going to come here for drama, you ain't getting it for free. You're going to have to press the
Yeah.
follow button. And I tell you, for some people who hate the page and they just don't like me and they're just like, oh, Dan Rosen. Trust me, it makes me feel so good when I see those people, they have to press follow. I'm like, oh, did you
Because
have
they
to press
just
follow to come and see? I'm
because
like,
they
thanks for
just
the
need to
follow,
see the drama.
babes.
Yeah. They just need
Oh,
to see the
they're going to
drama.
unfollow straight away anyway, but
Yeah.
it just makes me feel better that they have to go through the degrading task of having to follow a page they really don't want to follow.
Oh,
What a
that's
bitch.
brilliant. I love it. I actually kind of love it. But do you have any that like stand out, like super funny? Like, have there been any because the Tuesday topics, I mean, I've read have all been a little bit more, I don't know if serious is the right word, but like looking at problems, like, have there been any funny ones?
Yeah, I think there's been some about like fanny farting before,
Oh,
we've
yeah.
had like fanny fart discussions, and people discussing, yeah, there have been a few funny ones, but to be honest, I don't actually make the intent because it sounds stupid, but I actually want it to be quite a good educational discussion.
Yeah.
I want it to be quite like, well, actually, like with today's one, I want people to be like, well, actually, I've never thought of it that way. Yeah, like I did a weekend training, but what did I actually learn from it? What did I get from it? What value did it add to my skills? And if people start thinking like that, then that's great because, I want them to be able to push the way that they think. Because obviously we're just conditioned to think, well, I want to become an instructor, so I have to do this course and I have to do this. When actually you could be like, well, yeah, I have to do the course for insurance purposes, but would it be better, like this person has said,
Mm,
to do a cheaper course just so I
mm,
have it for insurance, and then do some shadowing with someone who I really
mm.
respect, who's like really advanced, or who's, well, not advanced, not that being advanced even matters actually, like
But can take the
someone
time
who's
to
really
show you real life
who's done
situations.
it for years, someone who
Yeah.
knows it like the back of their hand. Do you know what I mean? Maybe that's more valuable. And I
Mm,
think it's important for people to see stuff like that, because actually, how many instructors do you know that have gone and done a course and they've opened up their own studio and it doesn't do well because they've just not had that shadowing experience with someone who knows
yeah.
what they're doing, or do you know what I mean? And they have to learn the hard way, which means they lose loads of students and then they realize, oh, maybe I need to change something. And it would be so much better for them, I think, to just, yeah, learn a bit of an easier way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess like everybody learns differently too, and catering to these different types of learning styles
Yeah.
through that.
I mean, I
Is
have to
that
say, for me
limited?
personally, I'm 100% a practical learner.
Yeah.
I did a course, well, I started a course. I just thought I'd do it as sort of like a supplementary. I don't think that you need it legally, but
Mm.
I wanted to do this course on pregnancy, right? So exercise while you're
Mm.
pregnant,
Hmm.
just so I could learn a little bit more about it. Did all the learning materials and stuff, read it all. It was really hard because I just hate that sort of thing. And at the end, you had to do this sort of like project and you had to fill in all of this stuff. And I just didn't do it because it just was way too much sort of like
Mm.
theory rather than practical. If it had been like, okay, now go and find yourself a pregnant person and run a class with them, giving the corrections as we've discussed here, blah, 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 and record it and send it to us, I probably
Mm.
could have done that because that's more
Yeah.
practical. But it's because I'm a
Yeah.
practical learner.
I'm a little bit like you, and I like when I actually went to uni the first time and for my undergrad, I dropped out, and because I just couldn't, and it was business, and I was like, nah, too much, like too much theory, too much whatever. But then when I went
Right.
back and did my master's, it's all practical stuff, and it's all like on your business or on your workplace, and I'm like, this makes sense to me. Like I understand how to
Mm,
apply this now, but when they were just giving
right.
me things where I had to learn and regurgitate theory, it was just like, no, not me. Like I just can't do it.
Mm,
I can't sit
yeah.
still long enough. But
I'm
yeah,
exactly the same. Like I can't sit still.
yeah,
I'm always wanting to be on the move. I can't work on one project for too long because I get bored. I have to move on. I have to do something different. Like I'm doing this for you now, and then I'm going to do some emails, and then after that, I'm going to add some more information to the blog that we're writing about pole camps, and and then we're going to do all these
yeah,
different things. I'm always trying to change things up because I just
yeah.
get bored so
Me
quick.
too. Me too. I need. And this is why I have way too many projects on the go. But that's
Yeah,
cool.
but
That's
this is
cool.
why I employed someone, is because I've got all these projects I want to do, but I don't want to be one of those people that half does a project and doesn't
Mm,
finish it. I want to be, I've always been the type of person that if I'm going to do something, I'll go 100% in on it. Like
yeah.
polos. Like, look at polos. Look how polos has become so big now.
So
And we
why
get
did you?
regular, oh, go
Oh,
on.
we already touched on that. I was going to say, why did you actually start polos? And I guess it was the funny, and you didn't have it. But where did the idea come from?
I just, do you know what? Do you know what? I really don't know. I think I've always liked memes. And I
Yeah.
think I've then just seen memes, but oh, that'd be really funny as a poll meme. So then I've changed it and posted it on my Dan Rosen poll page, and that
Yeah.
just got a lot of comments. And I was like, wow, so this stuff is really popular. So I started posting more. And I remember one day looking at my timeline, just thinking, fucking hell, this is just like a mishmash of like so much different stuff. It was like it could be like two poll videos, then it'd be a meme, then it'd be a Susan video, then a meme, then a poll video. I was like, nah, this is too unorganized for me. I was like, I just want this Dan Rosen poll to be about my poll stuff. So I then
Yeah.
separated it and made polos. And literally, I remember it was just me and Sarah Scott were on our way to teach at Mountain Pole Camp. I remember being on the plane at the time. We were like, oh, let's set up a page and we'll call it, what should we call it? We'll call it Polos. I was like, I'll call it Polos. And I set up this page, and then we were on the plane. And I remember we were sat there. I was like, oh, let's see how many followers it's got. And it was getting like really close to 10,000 because I put a load of memes on there or whatever. And then,
Yeah.
like, just as we took off, it just hit 10,000. I remember we were both like, woo! It was just
Ah,
like, yay, memes. But,
yeah. Well, they're great, I think. And they definitely get traction, right? Like they definitely, and they bring people together because, people share
yeah,
it
like,
to other
for
people
me,
and
laughter is such a great medicine. Like I tell you, when
100%.
I'm feeling down, I'll sometimes go on YouTube and I'll just watch some funny videos, or
I love
I like
fails.
to laugh. I just
Yeah.
love to laugh. So fails for me make me laugh. Memes make me laugh. Some of the funny videos that, some of the people that I would class as, content creators,
Mm,
like Marie for Pole, she's always making hilarious videos. I'm always
mm,
sharing them because she's just so funny. And I
yeah.
love that. And I love things like that where it just makes me properly lol.
Yeah. Love it. Is there anything you want to say? I think we could talk about social media. I'm not quite sure that we talk too much about Tuesday topic, but more about social media, which I think is really interesting all the same.
But I
So
think it kind of like
it
is
all brings them
mixed in with
together.
all of it, isn't it? Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. There was what were those questions that you sent to me? Well, didn't we have like there was another thing that we wanted to talk about. I can't remember what it was. I'm just trying to find it
I
now.
write it down. Okay. So, we had what one kicked off that went really crazy? How did it start? What have you learned is a good one.
Okay.
What
So what have
impact?
I learned?
Yeah.
Um, I've
Oh,
learned that people on the internet are you just can't predict. You just cannot predict them,
you can't.
and they're just a force upon themselves that you just cannot. When we were saying earlier on about something else, like you can't reason with stupid sometimes, and you just have to accept
Mm,
that and just accept that people on the internet are people on the internet. You don't
yeah.
know them. You're probably, and you know what? I know it sounds really morbid, but you're probably going to die and never have met that person. You probably won't have even been face to face with them. And you've got to remind yourself that before you get offended by something they've got to say, is that you're never ever going to see them. The likeliness
Mm,
of you bumping into that person is so low in your whole
yeah.
lifetime. Why would
And they
you?
might not even
Yeah,
know who you are, like what you show on social media. They might, like when you see
of
them on the street, you
course.
might not even know who they are. Like,
I show a lot of myself on my social media, but people
yeah,
don't know who I am. People don't know me. People like to think
no,
they know me, but they
yeah,
don't. Of course they don't, because that's not how it works.
no,
But yeah, I just think you got to take it with a pinch of salt, haven't you? So that's the thing I've
you
learned is
do.
that you just cannot take it too seriously.
100%. And the other one I think is a good one. And I think you've sort of touched on this, but like, how do you stay neutral? Or do you sort of form yourself a little conclusion, but you just like let people, I guess you probably know more than what the people know when you post a Tuesday topic. But yeah,
How do you
how do you
stay
stay
neutral? I mean,
neutral?
I stay neutral. I wouldn't even say I do stay neutral, actually. I'd say sometimes I even do give my opinion of how I feel on it,
Mm.
but
Do you do
I
that
make it
in the
very.
comments or do you do that in like
No,
the
I
DMs?
normally do it in the caption. I normally just be like, my take on
Yeah.
this is this, but what do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes I would just post Tuesday topic, what do you think? Question mark. Because I just
Mhm.
think I don't want to influence what people
Yeah.
think. I don't want them to feel like they have to agree with me because that's not what I'm about. I don't want them to agree with me. If anything, I'd actively encourage them to disagree with me and tell me why. Um, but sometimes I don't say my opinion because sometimes it can be more hassle than it's worth. It's
Yeah.
not worth saying what your opinion is because that people might not then agree with it and it might offend someone. I just think, well, I know how I feel about it, but I'm just gonna, how do you feel about it? Because it's not about
Mm.
me.
Yeah.
It's called Polos. It's not called Dan Rosen's opinion. It's just a
Yeah.
page that is open to everyone's opinion, and I don't want people to feel like mine is more important than theirs because it's not. Sometimes I will give my feedback on it, but not all the time
Have
because
you ever
actually
had,
it's not worth
look,
it.
no, I was going to say, have you ever had anybody complain to you about how somebody has responded to one?
Oh yeah,
Like,
well, actually, we get that quite a lot.
yeah,
Sometimes we get so many comments on them, as you can appreciate. Some of them have had like 200 or 300 comments, and so we don't see all of them.
yeah,
And actually, it's really important. And for anyone who is really listening to this now, I encourage you to let me know. We do try and check all the messages. We don't always
mm,
get to them straight away, but we do try to check them as often as possible. But if you ever see a comment that is offensive,
mm,
yeah, you need to let us know
yeah,
because people will write some really nasty stuff that's personal or
yeah,
horrible or offensive, and that needs to get deleted. Like
yeah,
sometimes when we'll post like the mum with their kids or whatever, like polling with kids and
yeah,
stuff, that can get some nasty comments. And I mainly, in fact, I tell you one, the perfect example is if we ever have plus size pollers on the fails videos and people want to comment on their bodies, that's an absolute
yeah,
no-no for us. We literally delete it and they get blocked. They don't even get a
yeah,
warning. I just block it straight away
yeah,
because I won't tolerate it because It's not because I think, not just because it's offensive, but because I really hope that by the time I've deleted it, that the person who they're talking about didn't see it, because it just breaks my heart to think they might see that and it might ruin their day and they might feel bad about themselves,
Yeah.
because that's just not what the pole industry is about. Not for me anyway. Like,
No.
and it just makes me think, if my student saw that, I'd be mortified. So yeah.
Yeah, we had one a few years ago just on Facebook. It's just like an advertising thing. And like, oh my God, why would you post that? This video, this thing, like they went into detail, like they have like darkening in these areas and they're this size. And I'm just like, yeah, exactly the same. Block and delete. Like, why even comment on that? Like, what's the point? What were you trying to achieve?
I won't even respond to it, because if I respond to it, it means the comment will stay up for longer, and it also means the comment will get seen more.
Yes, 100%.
So yeah, I just delete it. I think the general rule is, anything negative, you should just delete it and not engage. And it's sometimes really fucking hard. I tell you, some days I'm just like, oh my God, I want to engage so bad, but I'm not going to. I'm going to delete it, and I feel better. Once I've deleted it, I do feel better, because I'm like, no.
There's no temptation to engage either. Yeah.
Although at the moment, I wouldn't say I'm engaging, but I've said to people that I'm going to start doing it. So it's become a thing all of a sudden that people want to, every time I post a fail video, people will comment and be like, where are the crash mats? So I post on my story and said, right, I put heads up. If you're going to comment that, I'm going to go onto your page. I'm going to check that all your videos have crash mats. And if they don't, I'm going to reply to you. So
I see one of these comments.
Yeah, yesterday I did it. And and it's really funny because, it's sad in some ways, because it means that they inevitably end up deleting their comment and then they unfollow the page because they've been offended, because they've actually been caught out on their shit. But it's the truth. It's like, you can't say, where are your crash mats? And then I look on your page, I literally comment, it's so funny, I can't remember what I said, but the way I worded it was just hilarious, and I kind of hope that maybe they'd give a little bit back and kind of give me a little bit back on it, rather than just delete the comment.
Do they delete the comment?
Yeah, they deleted it literally straight away, but I screenshot it, of course. They put, crash mat is very important, sad face. I just put, I agree. I had to go back 26 posts on your page to find a video of you using a crash mat. You could have fallen, ... And then literally it must have been within about 10 minutes it had been deleted. And then I looked on their page, because I always check first, because I'm always really intrigued to see if it's someone who even follows the page. Because sometimes people comment stuff like that and it won't be, they don't even follow the page, or they're not even a poll dancer, in which case I won't even engage and I'll just delete the comment. But if it's a poll dancer, I'm like, I hope you can back it up, because, so I'll go on their page and I look, and sometimes it is people that generally use crash mats, which is great. And it is great. Yeah. But actually, I've got a theory about this. And it's that, why don't we use crash mats so much? I think, and I'm glad, because I don't really like using them either. I feel they get away and get in the way a little bit. With pole, I feel like some people are too quick to just let go and fall onto the crash mat. But also, if you want to go back history-wise, I think the reason we don't use crash mats is because strippers never use crash mats. They're not going to put a crash mat in the middle of the stage while they're stripping.
Hold on, guys. Just let me come out here.
I bet you any money most strippers will tell you they learn the hard way. They do fall sometimes, of course. And they have their time, obviously, outside of the club hours where they try and practice whatever. But they don't have crash mats in the club, I doubt. And they definitely don't use it when they're performing. And so much of what we do comes from strip culture. So the lightness is that the first stripper to start teaching pole to, people who aren't strippers, they didn't have a crash mat, because that was never a thing. And I actually think that probably is why we don't use crash mats. And
it's a behavior, right? And they're actually a lot of effort to pull out, get out. But I remember taking one fall pretty high up the pole, going from like a Superman to an inside leg hang. Move I'm super confident with, but my grip just wasn't right, and I crashed down onto my head. Sometimes you don't think that you need it because you feel confident in it, but the environment has changed on that particular day. So,
well, people will argue and say, yeah, but we always use crash mats for silks and hoop. But my argument to that is that with silks and hoop, for me, it's slightly different, because you're a lot higher most of the time. Generally, not all the time, but most of the time, aerial is a bit higher. And with hoop, if you fall out of a hoop, you've got nothing to grab on the way down. There's nothing between the hoop and the floor that you can attach yourself to stop yourself from hitting the floor. With a pole, 99% of the time, you can kind of break your fall using the pole. So the falls are never normally that bad. And silks, again, if you fall from the top of a silks, you can't grab onto it because it's just going to burn your hands anyway and you're going to fall. So that's my theory. Whether anyone agrees with that, I don't know. But I feel like it's safer with pole, and that's why we don't get as many crazy fails with pole, because of the fact that we can break our fall, which is what makes them funny, is because you can see they've completely fucked up. Yes, they've flopped to the floor. Yeah, they might have landed on their back and maybe they've winded themselves a little bit. But 99% of the time, they're okay, and they've just kind of flopped to the floor a bit. But there have been fails that I haven't shared because they just are horrific.
Oh, God, like, I can imagine.
And they'll be like, oh, no, because I've got this rule that I'll share it so long as you didn't cause any physical injury to yourself, like lifelong. If you've damaged your neck and, really, really hurt yourself and you had to have surgery, not getting shared. Just no way. I'm not going to share it because it's irresponsible. But, and they'll be like, oh, well, no, I didn't have, I was fine. I just had a little bit of a sore neck for a couple of days. But some of them, I still won't share them because it looks really bad. Like it looks like some of these girls will fall on their neck, like really from height. And I'll be like, whoa, I'll be like, that one for me. Don't get me wrong. Of course, there's going to be some that are close to the mark, and we sometimes will blur the lines on that because it's hard to say whether we think it's really bad or not. But some I'll just be like, oh no, I can't share that because it's just I struggle to watch it. Like if my butt clenches watching it, it ain't going on.
Did it meet the clench test?
Yeah, no, literally, it's never clenched so hard in my life. I was like, oh, I remember just the one I'm thinking of. Like she fell from high. She landed on her head. And then her head went that way and her body went like over towards her head as well. I was just seeing it's like side bend. She was like, oh no, I'm really flexible. So actually I was fine. I was like, the thing is that if people think falling like that is okay, because she really did contort herself, if they think that that's okay, they might not get the fear that actually these fails are really intended to instill in people. I want people to watch them and I want them to be like, fuck, oh my God, I need to make sure I'm more careful, because safety first all the time. I'm telling my students this all the time. I'm like, listen, if you don't feel safe doing something, I don't want you to do it, not without a spot, wait for me. Because what's the point? And from a business point of view as well, I don't want you to
people injuring.
I need you to come back. I've got bills to pay.
It's easier to have you returned than have you off injured. Like it's just,
of course.
But were these things?
That, I love my students. I don't want them to hurt themselves.
Yes.
I don't want them to blame me. I don't want them to blame me for them injuring themselves. God, like I want them, to just have a great time at pole.
Yeah, I agree. And are these like rules that you've had to bring in over time? Like when you first started sharing them, were you just like, whatever?
Yeah, of course. Everything that I've ever done in my life, I've learned from, and pole roles has taught me so many lessons. I mean, there's been so many times that people have like kicked off about something. I've been like, oh, didn't think about that. Great. Let's learn from this experience. And, let's instill some rules from now. So, I think I shared a fail and they were like, Dan, this is not funny. Like that looks really dangerous. I was like, oh, okay, no, I'm not going to do it. And do you know what it was? It was, you would have seen it because it went viral. There was a girl in LA that fell from the top of a stripper pole. She was at the strip club. And the stage was like multicolored. Do you remember? It was like light, flashing.
I think so, yeah.
And I shared it because it was going viral. Loads of people were finding it funny. And it turned out that actually, not only had she fallen from a really bad height, but she'd also broken her jaw, which I didn't realise. And that is one of my rules. Is that so I was like, oh, no problem. I'm going to delete it now. Delete it straight away. We live, we learn. I think it definitely makes me a lot more cautious for sure. So having these little processes in place, it helps because I don't want it to happen again,
Yeah. And I mean, when you're sharing to such a big audience as well, these, everyone's going to take things differently. And all you can do is look at it and make your decision with the information of which you have at the time, and
Of course.
and move forward. So
Yeah, this
yeah.
thing. And, as sad as it is, because, sometimes when you see something, you think, oh, I didn't mean to offend anyone or whatever. Or, it's a mistake. It happens. You take it down. And then I just made a point of being like, well, because she actually made a GoFundMe to have her surgery.
Oh, wow.
So I think I shared her GoFundMe and stuff. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I shared that. Everyone, I didn't realize that she'd gotten hurt so badly, but here's her GoFundMe. Let's help her. I think it's taught me over the years that there's no point in trying to dig your heels in and, get upset because you were wrong. It's okay to be wrong. It is okay to be wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I've been wrong on many occasions. Oh, so many occasions. But I love the learning process because it means that it won't happen again because I've learned from it in that instance. And sure, we make mistakes, but you just got to keep learning from them as and when you do them,
Yeah. And when we did a podcast recently about pole identity, and I think one of Renee's lines was growth is sexy, guys. Learning and making mistakes and growing is kind of sexy. It's good. It tells something about a character as well. So yeah, I agree. It's mistakes, and you're going to make them because you're getting flooded by 1,000 different things. So it's you've got to sort through it and just make the decisions based on what you see.
Exactly. And I just think, it always makes me sad as well because I feel bad for anyone who experienced the Dan Rosen from 8 years ago, whatever, the one who was quite mouthy at the time. I think I felt like I was trying to make a name for myself based on the fact that I didn't give a fuck and I just said it as it was. And actually it did, obviously it works because I've built up a following as a result of it, but
people love controversy
actually
too.
It wasn't, I think that's what it was. I wasn't building up a following of people that followed me. I was building up a following of people who just love the drama. And I've just realized over the years, that actually it's just not what I'm about. And I was doing it for the wrong reasons. And I feel much happier with where I am now. I'm such a different person now. And I just think, it's sad for the people who didn't follow me because of who I was back then, because I'm so different now, but it's what it is. And I think growth is, like I say, growth is sexy. And I think it's so important that we're constantly growing and that we learn from our experiences.
100%. 100%. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap this up? We've spoken for so long. I love it.
I know. How long have we done?
An hour and a half.
Oh, wow. I tell you what, we're going to do a challenge. If anyone has listened to this whole podcast the whole way through, I want you to send me 3 aubergine emojis and 3 chocolate donut emojis and nothing else. Just send me 3 aubergines and 3 chocolate donuts and I will know who you are.
Yeah.
And I will send you some love and be like, well done for listening to this whole podcast.
Us going on our little love it. Us going on our little social media tangents,
it's gonna be
business tangents.
Code.
Oh, I love it.
And then
I can't wait to see this.
I'm going to screenshot it. I'm going to share it on social media and be like, if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. This has been fun.
It has been so much fun. And I think I've obviously been following polos for quite a few years. And I think it's just given me such a different perspective, but not that I didn't have a bad perspective, but it's just been really good. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed learning from you, actually. I think I've learned a lot in this podcast. So, so obviously, where can people find you? Obviously, at Polos.
So yeah, I mean, you can find, I'm everywhere. I'm like you said, I'm like COVID. I just fucking change. When I disappear and when I mutate, I was about to say manifest. I mutate into something else. I've got one page here, one page there. If you want to follow my pole stuff, go and check me out on @Dan Rosen Pole, or you can check out my meme page, which everyone likes a lot more apparently because it has way more followers, which is @PoleLols, LOLS. And yeah, if you want to check out my online programs and stuff, I teach online. I've got blogs on there that you can read about. If you suffer with sweaty hands, I've got a great blog about how to stop that. Go and check it out. But yeah, the links are all on my social media pages. So go and check them out and come and join the Lols family.
Love it. I love it. Thank you so much for your time today, Dan. I've had an absolute ball. And guys,
thank you so much, Stephanie. It was so fun.
And if you're listening, come hang out with us on Instagram. send Dan some interesting Tuesday topics or some fail videos, whichever you prefer. But yeah, come hang out with us on Instagram. Until next time, guys. See you soon.
Bye.
All right.